Hello and welcome to the newest episode of Tuning into Ukraine. Over the past 3 years, Ukraine has faced an all-out war, not just on the battlefield but in the information space as well. One of the biggest recent narratives pushed by Russian propaganda that the suspension of USAID funding is proof of Western betrayal and that Ukraine was entirely dependent on foreign aid. But what's the truth behind these claims? And how has USAID actually helped Ukraine survive and resist Russian aggression? Let's break it down. If you want to learn more about this subject, please continue watching this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our videos in the future. When the US froze USAID funding, Russian propaganda kicked into overdrive. They flooded social media with false claims that this was the final proof that Washington was abandoning Ukraine. Suddenly, fake news sites across Europe, many linked to Russia's GRU, began publishing opinion pieces, claiming that Europe would now have to bear the full burden of Ukraine's defense. One of the key players in spreading these fakes is the Russian disinformation operation known as Doppelganger. This vast network of fake websites posing as legitimate media like Der Spiegel or Le Parisien has been pushing narratives aimed at undermining Western support for Ukraine. But it didn't stop there. Russian AI-generated videos featuring fake versions of world leaders like Joe Biden, Emmanuel Macron, or Olaf Scholz pushed the idea that Western sanctions had boomeranged and only harmed Europe. These videos, produced using AI and designed to appear as real political statements, were heavily promoted by Russian bots. Even more concerning, billionaire Elon Musk has been actively spreading some of these falsehoods. He amplified the claim that USAID was spending money on celebrity visits to Ukraine, a completely debunked Russian hoax. Then, as head of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, Musk pushed for the shutdown of USAID altogether, calling it a criminal organization. And guess who immediately echoed these claims? Russian state media. So what's really going on here? Russia is trying to create a narrative of Western abandonment to break Ukrainian morale and weaken international support. But let's look at the facts. What has USAID actually done in Ukraine over past 3 years? USAID has been a lifeline for Ukraine in multiple critical areas. First and foremost, energy security. When Russian missiles targeted Ukraine's power grid, USAID provided emergency transformers and generators to keep hospitals, schools, and homes running. This was crucial in preventing a humanitarian disaster. Second, independent media. Nearly 90% of Ukrainian media survived the war thanks to grant funding, much of which came from USAID. With advertising revenue collapsing, especially in regional media, this support was essential to keeping independent journalism alive and holding the government accountable. Without it, we risked a return to the oligarch-controlled media landscape Ukraine had before the war. Third, cyber defense and digital resilience. USAID has helped Ukraine build robust cybersecurity programs to fend off Russian hacking attempts. This includes protecting government systems and ensuring Ukraine's digital services remain operational. And let's not forget humanitarian aid. USAID has funded projects supporting war victims, displaced families, and veterans. These efforts have been key in maintaining stability and resilience on the home front. So with USAID funding frozen, what happens next? The Ukrainian government has been actively negotiating with European partners to secure alternative funding. According to Deputy Prime Minister Olga Stefanishyna, urgent financing has already been secured for infrastructure, energy resilience, and cyber defense. The European Commission and G7 countries are expected to step in with new initiatives to support Ukraine's judicial and anti-corruption reforms. This is crucial because, as experts warn, a weakened media and civil society would open the door for corruption and political manipulation. So let's recap. Russian propaganda is pushing the narrative that USAID's funding freeze is a sign of Western betrayal. The reality, USAID has been one of Ukraine's strongest allies, proving critical support in energy, media, cybersecurity, and humanitarian aid. And while the funding freeze is a challenge, Ukraine and its partners are already working on solutions. The best way to counter disinformation is to spread the truth. Share this video, stay informed, and support independent media. Because information is power, and Russia knows it. Let's make sure they don't win the battle for this narrative.